Hello, my darlings. Well, we're almost on Friday. We're almost on the weekend. This is what they call it Friday Eve, Thursday. I have a great day tomorrow. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm going to be speaking to some high school students. On Monday, I spoke to some college students at Georgia Tech, and I'll be speaking to some fifth graders. Fifth graders tomorrow down in Louisiana. Oh my goodness, I just can't wait to speak with them. Thank you, Astria Wilson. I'm looking forward to just talking with them. They have already looked at the movie. For some of you, let me say welcome to A Slice of Life. A Slice of Life. But for some of you, you may or may not know that my daughter and I have an award-winning movie on PBS.org. It is called Foot Soldiers, the Class of 1964. It's about my class, Spelman College. We arrived in Atlanta in 1960. We finished in 1964. And this is our 60th anniversary and the 10th anniversary of our award-winning documentary, Foot Soldiers, the Class of 1964. And in this documentary, we talk about the coordinated efforts of the Atlanta student movement to bring about change in Atlanta. We were segregated here and segregated across the country. They had already had sit-ins in Greensboro. And so that Dr. Roslyn Pope and Julian Bond and Dr. Howard Zinn, a professor at Spelman College, all came together to write a manifesto. And Charles Black and Lonnie King and Julian Bond took the leadership at Morehouse to ensure that the Morehouse men understood what was happening for the city of Atlanta. If they had come out of the South, they already knew about segregation and racism. And they joined with the women at Spelman, with Dr. Herschel Sullivan Challenor. She was the student leader at the time that we arrived at Spelman in 1960. And of course, Carolyn Longbanks and her sister, Wilma Blanding at Clark College. And I think Reggie Williams and James Patterson were at Clark College, and at Morris Brown College. We had notables there, and we had people at Atlanta University, and we all came together. All of the leadership. I wasn't the leadership. Our movie is about the followership of the foot soldiers, and we were the ones who listened. We had just arrived. We were 16, 17, 18 years old. That is why I say to you to turn on Netflix, because there's a story about the three of us, Marilyn Price Hoyt, Charles Black, and myself, are featured in season 2, episode 3 of High on the Hog. And we share with you the story of what happened in Atlanta and how Atlanta got to be Atlanta. You all love Atlanta, but you don't know how Atlanta got to be Atlanta, and that the few of us are still living. It had something to do with the making of Atlanta. You notice I like these glasses. I didn't want to take them off. And so I just want to share with you that story so that you will know that I am just Georgianne Thomas, but I'm also part of a movement, a group of women and men who came together under the leadership of the Atlanta student movement, Dr. Otis Moss Jr., yes, and the Surgeon General of the United States under Bush was Dr. Now I forgot his name. I should not start calling names. Satcher, Dr. Satcher. All of us were students at one time, and we all were in the Atlanta University Center at the same time. And so we just need to there's a story still to be told. You know, the story from the Atlanta student movement is from the Spelman perspective, Brenda Sue Hill Cole and that crew, because I'm Spelman, and it was my class reunion, my 45th class reunion. And so we just talked about, my daughter agreed, Reverend Evelyn Sanders Swafford agreed to film my classmates as we talked about what we did some 45 years ago. We're at 60 years. Oh my Lord. And many of the people in the movie, including Congressman John Lewis, has passed away. And so we need to gather our stories. And one of the things that I want to talk to you 55 and 45 and 35 and 60-year-olds out there is about preserving the history, your family history. I need you to now you can just take your phone Just take your phone and record what Grandmama said. Record what Auntie said. What Uncle Ben, what did he say? Uncle somebody. Just start recording that and putting it somewhere. Now they got stuff in computers. Got all kind of programs where you can just record and maybe place them in a folder. I've never yet learned how to put anything in a folder, but it sounds good. Preserve our history. Preserve your history, your family history. You go to the family reunions. I love some family reunions. They have books and they have pictures and they have names and they have the family tree, and some of you all take that for granted. But I think it's going to come a time when that information is not available. I have little information. My mother did have a family reunion and she found everybody and we were able to meet. Let me tell you that story quickly. My grandfather's last name was Hamilton. My mother was a Hamilton. His brothers were Hamiltons, his families and siblings. But when they went to another place up in Boston and some in Chicago, some in St. Louis, the spelling got changed. They may have said, my name is Hamilton, and the person who was taking the name, we can't assume black or white, didn't know how to spell Hamilton and thought, or maybe they thought they heard Hampton. But one group of Hamiltons are siblings to the Hamptons, and they couldn't find each other, and nobody could find anybody because you were looking for Hamiltons, and they were Hamptons, and the Hamptons may not have known they were Hamiltons, you see? And so my mother was able to, how she found out, she was looking in the newspaper. And I think this is a story, my sister would certainly correct me, but I think my mother was looking in the newspaper. Somebody had passed away, and they had some of the same first names as my mother remembered. And she thought she would check and see how can they have the same first names and their last name was Hampton. And she said, is that Hampton or this should be Hamilton? And she checked and found her uncle before he passed away. The last uncle, I think. Well, isn't that a story? She was reading obituaries, I think, in the Chicago News. We're in Gary, but Gary and Chicago, people keep up with one another. That's the story, and that's what I want you to think about doing yourself. I want you to think about guarding our history. We don't know our own history, and this is black, white, purple, and green. I did a research. I had an idea. It was called Who Lived Here? Where Did They Go? And so the research, go to my site, Who Lived Here? Where Did They Go? .com, at gmail.com. Who lived here? Where did they go? At gmail.com. When you get to the site, click on the monograph and also click on the 3 lines on the menu and you'll see other information. But although that we're talking about 27 neighborhoods that I identified in Atlanta, think about your neighborhood. Think about where you're from. Think about you in Britain, right now, Great Britain. Are you in India? Are you in South Africa? Think about where you came from. Where were you born? Who lived there? And where is that documented? I told this one woman I met at an event. And I said, listen, if nothing else, go back and find a stone and take some paint and paint the names of your family members on this stone and put these stones under a tree because it'll always be there. That's what they did for us. They didn't give us any grave sites. We got grave sites, but we didn't have any real markers. So they put stuff on stones. So I'm saying, if you this woman, I said, just go back to your hometown. I mean, if you want to put if you put a sign there, I think that somebody would come along, maybe take down the sign, or somebody will move in there and maybe not want that sign. But people don't pay attention to rocks, you see. And so you can make those rocks. You can put those rocks in the ground. You can dig a hole and put the rocks in there. Just so you mark your territory. You know how dogs, animals mark their territory? You got to mark your history, everybody. Whatever history that is, then mark it. I think it's important to do that. I think that's what I'm saying about who lived here, where did they go? Well, you know, this part that well, because what I'm doing, this YouTube is centered around super aging, getting older without getting old. But sometimes I just share with you things that have happened in my life and what's going on in my life, because I think maybe somebody, I follow the Spirit of the Lord. And I was going to talk about something else today, because yesterday we spoke from this book, A Well-Lived Life. And remember, if you noticed, I spoke to you about your apps are now your neighbors. Your apps are now your friends. Your apps are now, that's who's hugging you. An app is hugging you. An app is talking to you. An app is loving you. All of you have fallen in love with Alexa or Cyrus or whatever the name of your person is, this electronic voice. You know, you've just gotten away from a lot. But I'm just saying, gotten away from the whole human experience. But I'm trying to bring you back to the human experience. And let's talk about our history. Because I am saying to go to the internet and place it somewhere. But I'm old-fashioned girl. You know, I believe in paper still. I believe in having something written down. I just believe that if something were to happen in the internet, then what would you do? Remember, they show you in a book first. They show you in a movie first. Remember the fantastic job Denzel Washington did in the Book of Eli? Think about the things they show you in a film first. So you remember Enemy of the State with Will Smith? You can buy trackers on for $13. I bought one. I gave it to my daughters for you put in a little girl's book bag. But remember how we were like, oh my goodness, how did they know where he was? Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. They showed you a lot of all of this. And when I was growing up, Dick Tracy talked in his watch. We didn't think anything about it. Go back to Dick Tracy. He talked in his watch. The Jetson is coming. I'm just saying that there's so much going on around us. Futuristic is present. Present is futuristic. We're in a matrix. With matrix, the past is the past. I always say, don't go back. Don't go back. You know, but I might amend that as I think about the matrix that we're in. What dimension are we in? Where are we on the matrix map? Are we 3D, 2D, 4D? I don't know. I don't have that kind of skill. I don't have that kind of information, but I know that there are levels out here. I have enough sense to know that I'm looking at you in India right now. I'm looking at you in Great Britain. I'm looking at you in South Africa. I find that amazing. How did this come about? You see, they showed us in not only Dick Tracy talking in his in his watch, but they showed us on another show, Star Trek. A lot of Star Trek, a lot of the Jetsons. They show you first. Remember Scandal? Go back to Scandal and see how much Scandal is right now. They showed you a lot of stories. And Olivia Pope was a real person. I'm just asking you, 35, 45, 55. I know you got life going on. We all got life. I got health stuff going on. You know, I still don't have my teeth. I'm going to talk in a minute about something else that's too trivial. So I'm going to leave it to the end. But there's a lot going on, young people. I know you get up and you got work to do and you got toddlers. And you think that what you're doing, all that's good. All of it's good. You got to raise some kids. You got to get a roof over your head. You got to stabilize your family. Men, with a male figure, whomever that represents, provides and protects. The husbands provide and protect. And the wives, you know, to see about, I guess, the whole children, household. I don't know how it works these days. You know, haven't been married for years, so I don't know. But I do know that in the middle of all this, there's spiritual warfare. There are things going on, the fine print. I have people say they don't look at the news. How crazy is that? Do you know what's going on? Are you going to wake up being carried to the gas chambers? Are you going to wake up like the Japanese did? They knocked on their door. An executive order. Executive, or was it Truman? Yeah. I'm going to take you to a concentration camp because you look like the people we're fighting. Just on looks. Are y'all paying attention to what I'm saying? Manzabar, was that one of the places they took him? You need to read Janice Mirkatani. She wrote a poem called We the Dangerous. That's one of the last assignments I give in my humanities class. We, comma, the Dangerous is the name of the poem. And then look up, I think if you look on the internet, I don't have it in front of me, but I have some, before she gets her golden something award for being who she is, somebody reads the poem. So I have the student in the class read the poem first. And then I let them listen to a person, a Japanese person, read the poem. And then I have you think about that poem, We the Dangerous. Who? And there's a series of questions that's in the book that we use about that poem. And so I won't go there, but there are a number of questions. And then you ask yourself, who, there's a whole series of statements that are made in that poem that apply to people of color, African Americans. I really want you to read it, but I said all that to say that you got to pay attention, because knocking on the door, somebody knock on your door, they have the right. Do you know the Patriot Act? Okay. Do you know that an executive order can be signed and they can knock on your door? There's nothing you can do about it. You got to go. And they can only carry like whatever, a handful of stuff. I can't even think in my house. You all have been here. You can just see by this corner how much stuff is in here. And all I can carry was a handful I could carry with me. And you had to leave your house. And people could go in and take what they wanted out of it. You are not paying me no mind. I need for you to pay some attention to what I'm saying, you see. Because I need you to understand, for us to have this aging, super aging, getting older without getting old, for us to have this book, A Well-Lived Life, you got to know something about politics and what's going on around you. And what are we, spiritual warfare, what are we preparing ourselves for? I mean, I had some trivial come to me today. And I said, Georgianne, that is too trivial. But still, for a minute, I was petty. I was. And I went to the trivial level. So I got to tell you about my trivial level for the day. I hope you heard everything I said before this. This is for any age. I tend to talk to the older people, but 35, 45, 55, 35-year-olds, I know you popping and in the club, and it's Super Bowl weekend, and I went to a Super Bowl party once. Be careful. Have fun, but be careful. When you put the glass down, don't pick that glass up anymore. You heard about those two women in the Bahamas? How you gonna go off somewhere and they drug you and rape you, and you on a ship, and you come off into the land? What is happening? I don't understand why anybody does that. When you can get, if this was not going, you can get so much free. I mean, why would you? I don't understand any of that. It's power. It's power and control. It's greed. I need for you to stop and think about what's going on in the world. All of us need to stop and think about it. So let me tell you about messiness and trivial and pettiness on my part. Martha Stewart, who has all the money in the world. Why would I even think that I could do anything that Martha Stewart could do? She got a Birkin bag. She probably had 20 of them. I don't have one. It's a whole lot of folk don't have one. So that's trivial. I know all that's going on in the world. Why would you think you need to have a Birkin bag? Okay, she got a facelift. Y'all know I'm trying to get teeth. And she got a facelift. Anyway, just going to have to live with this. That was my trivia for today. That was my pettiness for today. I just gave you all the reasons why we should be thinking at a high level, and I leave you on pettiness. Well, the one good thing you know is I love you, and you can't do anything about it.